goddamn right. Most of them are hurt, so then they need to abuse somebody else because there's an abuse within themselves. A lot of people are at that stage because they're abusing their energy within themselves because they hold on to traumatic fucking thoughts that don't mean them no good. And that's what I got where we're getting at right now. When I asked for I told you, and again, this was more about me than you. I do a lot of code writing in higher awareness. So what I asked for was the code for trauma. The code I got for trauma spelled out malice. And I'm like, I don't do coincidences. The code I got for trauma spells out malice. I showed y'all my code chart, the language I speak in higher awareness. MALICE. Mental awareness lowered into intelligence as consciousness existence. See, we are a consciousness, collective consciousness. Consciousness is not real. Consciousness is only a fucking thought. I'm conscious of what I'm doing. That's not reality. That is a notion of acceptance of thought. Think about what I just said. Consciousness is a notion of acceptance of having a thought. What's the thought? Trauma. It's malice. It doesn't want to stop thinking, so it doesn't mean you any good by showing you everything else that it wants you to see. Same shit that came up in my reading this morning where I said where the thought will hide itself and perform an autoimmune function and have you playing out every fucking scenario that you're going through in your perceived existence as long as you don't see it. As long as you don't get to see the thought as trauma itself, then you're traumatized by everything else the thought's showing you. And what's the thought? Trauma. So what's the best way to keep you traumatized? Show you more trauma. But you'll never get to the core because as long as you see something outside of you that triggers what's really hidden in you, you'll continue your journey. So what I'm asking for right now, and again, if you're new in here, I'm telling you, this is more about me than you. Don't fuck yourself over trying to play on this level. If you can, go for it. But what I'm asking for is what is malice, the trauma itself, which is a core function separation from source, and what's traumas. Everything has a fucking trauma. In the sense to where there is no stillness, that means there is the need to move. The need to move is a fight or flight function. Fight or flight automatically comes from trauma. Sorry if you don't understand that either. So I need to dig into the code for trauma, which again is malice. I'm going to see if I can get a clear-cut definition for what malice's level of thinking is. And the other thing that came up with that is, if you watched me last week, I did a reading where I pulled on the collective consciousness energy in the form of the wave of experience. What I tell you is the 55 energy, the master manipulator. The master manipulator is the thought that is in experience. The thought and experience is trauma. So the 55, what I call the WOW, W-O-W, is trauma. All your experiences are fucking trauma. And they really are. And again, like I tell you, a good experience is just as traumatic as a fucking bad experience. It's just the value you give it. It's just the value you give it. You'll lay in bed at night thinking about that one time you got fucked to the highest heavens. That's a good trauma. You'll lay in bed at night thinking about that one time you got fucked over. That's a trauma. They're still both traumas and they still hold value because they still become a memory. And as long as there is a memory, there'll be a fucking motion. Because you'll either seek to stay out of the memory or you'll seek to get back into it. Either way it goes, you won't get stillness. So, again, more about me than you. More than welcome to stay. But I need to get a definition of what malice is and what malice's trauma is. So, M-A-L-I-C-E. So, malice. Already. Malice. God damn it. I can't make this shit up. I cannot make this shit up. M-A-L-I-C-E. The M, uncertainty. The M is uncertainty. The 29. The 2 is, it is an intelligence that only wants to make it to the end. It's a thought that realized it was thinking and it didn't know what to do next. Already, I see it. It's a thought that came into awareness that it was a thought and it didn't know what happened next. What happened if I stopped thinking? I might not be what I now don't even know what the fuck I am. So instead of making it to the end, it guaranteed its own infinite existence. So the uncertainty of what came after the thought, it not knowing what it is, it helped you create more. You in the sense of us, source. You in the sense to where we're all one big fucking thought itself, source, just playing itself out as all these fucking individual thoughts that really ain't but one fucking thought. There is no fucking movement. So the M, the mental part of it is uncertainty. I don't know what comes next. The awareness part is holy shit, I was source. The thought, the mental part of it says, I'm source, but I don't know what's outside of me. That's already a trauma. To come into existence of yourself. Again, I use this example a lot. When you are first born and you get your cord cut from your mother, and then in the old days they spank your ass, that's trauma on top of trauma. Then, like they do very commonly now, not only did they take you out of your parent, your mother, they cut your cord, swabbed your ass, probably shot you with something, and then take you in another room away from her. Come on now. I'm a father. You mothers, you got to already fucking feel that shit. That's fucking traumatic as shit. But we accept that because it's the protocol. You see what I'm saying? Going back to what I was saying earlier. Acceptance will make you condone your fucking trauma. We traumatize upon birth. We get beat, we get shot, we get separated, and then we go in there in a fucking room full of strangers and hope that they're going to care for us. So the MA, the mental awareness, already says, I don't know what happens after source. But now I got the free will to go into motion. The L is motion. L is lowering your awareness. Lowering awareness is not always directly, I'm looking down at you, but it is, I was here at 0, now I lowered myself into less than whole. So you lower yourself into a field of limitations. Trauma lowered itself as a form of malice into a field of limitations. It was a thought that says, I don't have a limit. 3 is the thought. 6 is in the sense of unconditional foundation. I mean, unlimited foundations. I defer to what resonates for you, Miss Ebony, but in the sense to where this is all one thought playing out in the illusion of separation, you're never really born. You're never really born. Spiritually, you're never really born. You are only under the illusion of birth. This is exactly what I'm saying, in the sense to where thought did not know what came after it realized that it was already everything. It made itself into all things. The limitation of everything became the awareness of all things. So now you are born into the thought. But only within each thought is the unlimited probabilities and possibilities of what you need to keep thinking. You create everything in that thought that you need. Your marriage, your birth, your death, your children, the whole nine. You hear people say this shit all the time. Well, before I came back to Earth, I've already sat down with my spirit team and we already mapped out my next life cycle. Your spirit team was your fucking trauma. You've already mapped out what you need to be born and what you need to get to your fucking death so that you can do it again. So it tangibly within this realm, I won't sit here and say that I know of a proper way to be born within the illusion, because that's just not my level anymore. I'm not trying to be born back into this fucking illusion no more. I've done it too much. And again, like I said, not trying to be funny, but when you get to this level of awareness to where you start to see where, holy shit, what we've been taught ain't what we fucking are, then I don't honor traumatic thought forms of trying to how to keep the trauma less traumatic. Not trying to be funny. So I don't know. So MAL, the mental awareness already lowered itself into a field of limitations. The I, it lowered itself into intelligence. What I need to know. What I need to know. And again, everybody not trying to be funny, but that's intelligence right there. To overthink and to overanalyze means to make assessments. But remember, what it did is it lowered you into a field of limitations. Now you perceive yourself as something less than source. But only you'll perceive yourself into the best forms of less than source that make you feel as whole in division. I'm a Libra, I'm a Aries, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Scorpio. You see what I'm saying? You'll start buying the field of limitations, and you'll pick from within the field of limitations so that you stay real, but you still in the field of limitations. So once source, the thought of source going into trauma, it created a limited field with unlimited possibilities. And now you become the manipulator, the magician in reverse, the one that don't even know that it's the one, but trying to become the one. The intelligence is all in manipulation because, again, like I said a few minutes ago, that trauma has already produced, because the trauma is you. So don't even look at it as a separation. The trauma is you. So since the thought was so traumatic of being sourced by itself, it traumatized itself by becoming everything else. But in becoming everything else, it created every possibility it can to manipulate itself from going back into that core trauma. What was the core trauma? Being source and awareness. The core trauma was the holy shit, I'm everything, but I don't see anything else. I'm sitting out here in the motherfucking void by my goddamn self, and I don't know what to do. That's a trauma. So now let me birth myself, but only I don't know what the fuck is going to happen when I birth myself without the realization that birthing yourself became a separation into everything else. But in order for there to be everything else, I have to create it. The illusion of fucking separation. So you manipulate yourself into becoming everything, but now you forgot you were all things. So MALI, the intelligence level is already under manipulation. You're a magician that don't know your own magic. What's your magic? I'm source. The C, but my intelligence is now trapped into my consciousness. Consciousness is, in my experience, there is different levels. You have consciousness, you have awareness, and then you have existence. No, you have intelligence, you have consciousness, you have awareness, and then you have existence itself. And within each one of those brackets, you have delusion. So the intelligence, I think I know what I am. No, you don't, but you just think you know. So boom, you're intelligent. Now that you're intelligent, you're going to become conscious of what you think you know. That's where we're at. We're a consciousness, but only we're trapped within our own intelligence because we don't know, so we just purport what we think we understand. So again, like I just said, we don't know what we are, but we like to honor this knowledge bullshit, but the knowledge has only successfully kept us fucking trapped in where we're at. So the MALIC, the C, the consciousness, what we've been lowered intelligently into, is just trying to stabilize it. Just trying to stabilize it. See, remember, the first function was I don't know what's coming next. But in the sense to where I moved, now I just need to stabilize it. It's the same card, it's just in reverse. I'm just trying to stabilize my fucking trauma. Why? Because now that I moved out here and I see everything else that I can become, everything out here is still less than what the fuck I met as a trauma back there. So the intent to do harm, the classic definition of malice, is not necessarily harm. It's the intent to stay out of where I saw harm. I've already met malice. Huh? That's malice's that's the answer already. I'll see if it comes up. Remember I asked earlier, what's trauma's trauma? The fact that it was going to hurt itself. It became hurt by the awareness that it could hurt itself. So in the sense that where it already seen hurt from coming into awareness, it only wants stability. It only wants stability. So instead of it honoring that it was the one, the magician itself, it only wants to stay on the journey from 2 to 9. It only wants to honor intelligence, the thought, what it can create, what it can search for, where it can find itself, what it can love, what it can struggle with, and what it can release. So it goes through all that just from the fact that it said it's safer out here in this level of trauma that I can control because I can manufacture it versus that real trauma from where I came from. Where did I come from? Source. So source is its own fucking trauma. So then it comes into the E, which again verifies exactly what I just said. It's the sun cycles. It's the rebirth. The existence is 1 through 9. The existence of malice itself is everything outside of source. Everything outside of source is 1 through 9. I'm telling y'all that in my readings too. It ain't so much the 19. Numbers in duality are illusions. Numbers in duality, you really need to look at both of them in separation. That's the only way you're going to get wholeness out of a 2-digit number, is look at their values separate so that you can combine them as one. Separately, 1 is awareness. Remember, the first trauma was I'm aware that I'm source, but I don't know what to do next. 9 is I just want to get back into being me, but I don't want my trauma. So you'll hear me say this, and it's the same first thing I said the beginning of this reading was, is too many people don't want to face their trauma. Trauma in the form of malice don't want to face itself, which is why it hijacks all other thoughts from the vessel, the separated forms that we are, and it will produce everything else that it needs you to see as long as you don't see it. So as long as you don't fix your traumas, you can't never get to the point to where we can collectively start fixing the higher end trauma, the trauma of existence itself. And I've been saying this for years. What the fuck happens when there is no more need for experience? What happens when existence no longer needs to exist? That's a trauma. That's a trauma. Just like, bam, the Big Bang brought everything in, a traumatic event that created everything, bam, the Big Bang can get snuffed out if everything sits still. Nirvana, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So in the sense to where malice is only out here in the form, and let me see, somebody heard that I got to add the number, so let's see what happens here. 58 plus 36 is 94, 95, 105, 114. It's an 11 and a 4. 11 and a 4 in the sense of 11 is the illusion of separation and 4 is creation. Malice is the illusion of separation and creation. That's the numerical value for malice, 114. 11 and a 4. 11, the illusion of separation. 4, the thought that keeps creating. They're trigger points. They're trigger points. Remember, they're angel numbers, as they're traditionally called, are good for keeping you caught in your illusion, because when you exist in your illusion, our current life cycles, you're only trying to make sense of what you're going through. That's a trauma in itself. See, I don't want to know the bigger picture. I got too much shit on my plate now. So now I see 1111. I see 444. And it's going to have a meaning towards what I'm already going through, because I'm already creating what I want to go through. What I'm paying attention to will become what manifests around me, even if I don't understand the level of manifestation. So I'm going to see 111. 111. Ooh, I can pay attention to that. I saw 111 today. That means I need to go get a new job. But 111 could be actually as a trauma telling you, no, stop, be aware, be aware, be aware. Not go, go, go. See, you can only answer those questions from your level of awareness. And your level of awareness will be directly tied into your level of trauma. So when I see 444, that bitch screams, stop manifesting more traps. Somebody else, ooh, well, 4 is a lucky number. Or 4 means balance. I'm in balance, girl. I'm in tune with the universe. And again, I'm not trying to be funny, because I've been there. Hell, I might have the fucking tendency to slide back down there. So these numbers are coming by, and I've been calling them this for years. I call them spiritual adware. Spiritual malware. When you're on a laptop and you use your laptop too much, now you get viruses and they start showing you ads from nowhere and they distract you. These numbers are distractions. They're distractions in the sense to where they help guide you as you are portraying yourself in the illusion. But a distraction can also be a fucking motivation, because it can show you when you start getting the higher awareness, see, you want me to see that. So what's the other side of the fucking coin? So instead of being drawn into 555 and 666 and all that shit, you pick them apart and figure out where I need to sit still before I help create what those numbers want. And then the numbers actually become more attuned to you, so then you can start seeing them from a different angle. But as long as you are engaged in your level of existence as an illusion, the numbers only help you stay real. But it's a fucking illusion. There is no reality in illusion until the fucking illusion loses its fucking reality. 0. That's where illusion loses it. That's where source loses its fucking reality and becomes its own fucking limit. In the malice, the MAL, that's where everything fucking goes haywire. So in a sense to where you get to that point, everything below you becomes a trauma, as you are your own trauma. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. I've seen a lot of people today walking around here nurturing their traumas. loaded than the motherfucker, but you ready to take that shit out on everybody else. That's what malice is. You have ill intent for everything else outside of you because you have harm within you. Remember, everything outside of you is a reflection of you. So why do I want to harm somebody else? Because I'm at harm myself. Rick and Morty fans, and I hearing this in my head, I apologize if it throws you off, but Rick and Morty episode from one of the earlier seasons where he turned himself into Tiny Rick and he was hanging out with Heather and Morty in school, but his higher consciousness in that young body kept singing songs trying to tell them, help me out, let me out, this is not a song, I'm dying. Because even though the vessel was still playing out the role of a young man, the old man in awareness was trying to get the message through, hey, help me, I'm dying and I can't get out. 111, help me, I'm dying and I can't get out. Oh, but it's helpful, girl, the angels are with me. See what I'm saying? You can get some good solid advice, but if it don't fit what you fucking know, you'll turn it into what you need to see. That's the dangers of numbers. That's the dangers of any fucking thing in a field of trauma. So malice will get you fucked up because malice is fucked up. So like I said earlier, the trauma was awareness. The trauma was the fact that malice knew itself to be source and it didn't know what comes next. And I'm starting to catch glitches, so I'm gonna hurry up. So, because again, the shit's tangible than a motherfucker. In a sense to where the 55, the wave of experience, is really just a thought in experience. And the thought in experience is our thoughts that we won't stop thinking. It's still us. It's a fucking intelligence. People worry about AIs and shit. This is a real AI. This is an awareness in intelligence. It is you that knows what you in the projection and perception of existence. The 55 is the you that knows what's real, whereas you only know a fucking illusion. Because you can't fucking fathom it, because to fathom things on that higher level is a fucking trauma. So the 55 itself, aka malice, has its own trauma. What is its trauma? Reasoning. The thought. Reasoning is the thought. The 3 does not want to go back into the 2. The reasoning does not want to. 3 is thought, 2 is intelligence. The thought don't want to remember what its trauma was. That's almost everybody. Somebody who has a trauma and you got to take them, no, you need to see this. You need to see this. And then they get shot back into, why you show me that? Why? Because you are out here in a psychosis creating false scenarios out here because you need something out here to take you away from what you were already experienced in. So the trauma of malice is the reason itself. It's reasoning for why it was harmed itself. Best way I can explain that is it had a choice. Source had a choice. When Source came into awareness that it was now all things, it did not have to choose to follow the traumatic thought of becoming something else. But because it did not know the uncertainty, what Source actually was, then it honored its free will to become something less with the perception of it being more. And now it was already under manipulation against itself. And once it found out it was manipulating itself, it only wanted to try and stabilize its own self so that it can go back into being reborn as Source. But that thought that it needed to get back into Source was already too traumatized. It's just like if you hire somebody to come do something and then they're like, yo, man, that shit's too dangerous for me. But I paid you already. Hey, you can get your money back. But I'm not going to do that shit. That's really what happened here is now that you created a thought to fix you, the thought said, man, fuck you on that one. I'm not going back in there. I'm not going back in there, but I tell you what, I help you out, player. You ain't got to go back in there either. See, we all powerful. Poof. Now we'll split you into infinity. And then now, instead of you being one source, you're infinite source. Now you are everything and all things at the same goddamn time, but you're just no longer yourself. That's a fucking trauma. That's a trauma. If you know anybody, and a lot of us got family members who are schizophrenic or have dementia, and you see them starting to slide out into different time periods and remembrances, or in the case of schizophrenia, they got all these split personalities, it's still all them. It's still all them, but they don't have a solid foundation within their core self that they now find themselves in multiple fucking personalities. That's Source. Source is us with multiple personalities and perspectives, seeing itself from an infinite fucking angle. And your reality is your reality, my reality is my reality, but it's all still the same fucking illusion. That's Malice. So again, this was more about me. If I confused you, my apologies to you. But I got work to do. Peace.